Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be focusing on the real estate sector here in Egypt. Now, Egypt is constructing 24th generation new cities that started off, obviously, with the new administrative capital. And joining us here in the studio to shed more light on this sector and these new cities and these new projects is Mr. Mehab Hassouna, who is a consultant and member of the Brokers Association. Mr. Hassouna, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start discussing our topic for the real estate tonight, it is said that the European Commission actually issued a report on the cooperation between the European Union and Egypt in the field of socio-economic development, the scientific research, energy, migration, counter-terrorism and regional issues. And joining us now over the phone to shed more light on this report is Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, who's the former Assistant Foreign Minister. Ambassador Bayoumi, can you hear us, sir?
Yes, how are you?
I'm very well, sir. Now, Ambassador Bayoumi, the report actually praised Egypt's steps regarding the partnership priorities for 2017 to 2020. We're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about steps taken in the economic reform program. How important and how significant is the issuance of this report praising the Egyptian efforts?
It's a very good news and good results of a long process of good relations. Egypt, even the Arab world and the European Union started a sort of a dialogue since 1974, after the October War. And since then, Europe estimates that Egypt is very important and it cannot continue dealing with the Arab world from a sort of opposition way. In 1976, we concluded the first agreement, the general agreement between Egypt and the European Union, and we ameliorated this situation with the association agreement in 2001, where we established an area of free trade, an area of political and security dialogue, an area of trade, finance and investment, and the third pillar is a cultural dialogue among Europe and Egypt and the Arab countries of the Mediterranean Sea. And since then, I think the relation is getting better and better all the time. Sometimes we have some problems between the Arab side or Egypt with the European Union until we insist on continuing the dialogue. If you continue the dialogue, then with all self-confidence we are explaining what was going on in Egypt after the revolution of the 1st of June. And since then we had many visits from Europe. Now this is the first time again that the Association Council to meet where Sameh Shukri from one side and the 28 member countries are on the other side. And this declaration is the result of this meeting, where Europe discovered that Egypt is a partner which can depend on it for stability and peace and development in the whole area, not only between Egypt and Europe, because as you well know, Egypt was a leading force to conclude the Euro Association agreements with the Arab Mediterranean, with the Gulf states, and we were invited in every Arab country dealing with Europe to exchange experience and to push forward for more and more South-North relations. And we succeeded also to establish another parallel forum, which is the Arab Mediterranean countries. We call it Agadir Group, which is also establishing a free trade area. The environment in general between Egypt and Europe, between the Arab Mediterranean and Europe, is getting much better than before.
Well, Ambassador Bayoumi, does such a report have any sort of practical steps that will be taken as a result of such a recognition, such a report? Will this be translated into practical measures and practical steps, potential projects that will be taking place in the future?
Yes, of course, every 3-5 years, we make a commitment from the European side and Egypt about the finance for the development assistance. We choose together which projects we are going to finance. European Union is financing development in Egypt in 3 ways. The first one is the regional one, which is coming from the European Commission. There is also the bilateral level, which is Egypt vis-à-vis all the member states, Germany, France, England, Italy. There is also the bilateral relations. And also EU is helping Egypt in its relation with the International Monetary Organization like the IMF and the World Bank. So they are really helping us in those 3 ways, internationally, regionally, and bilaterally. Mm-hmm. And our task is getting much more tougher because we have to be serious about using this money in time and to direct it to whatever projects we are keen to develop. And I am confident that both sides are satisfied with this sort of relation. Europe became our first trade partner, our first investment partner, also in the field of exchange experience. We are doing a very good job.
Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, now focusing on our main topic of discussion, let's check out this report regarding Egypt in a race to construct 24th generation new cities, and we'll be right back to discuss it with Mr. Hassouna.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli announced that the Ministry of Housing, Utilities and Urban Development will construct 24th generation cities with a total area of 580,000 fadans or 243,600 hectares to accommodate 30 million citizens and provide job opportunities. Madbouli remarked that President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi pays great attention to the 4th generation cities to provide a better life for Egyptians facing rapid population growth and offering housing, investment and job opportunities. The Prime Minister further explained that the 20 new cities are distributed across Egypt and include the new administrative capital and south of New Cairo, new 6th of October City, October Gardens extension of Sheikh Zayed, New Sphinx, New Al-Warra in Giza, Al Abur City, Al Alyubaya Governorate, New Alamein City in Marsa Matruh, New Mansoura City in the Kahliya Governorate, and an extension of the new Nubariya in Bihira Governorate. Also the East Port Said Salam in Western Port Said, the new Bi'r al-Abd in Northern Sinai, and the new El Fashn in Bani Suef, New Malawi in Minya Governorate, Western Ansyut, Western Ina, New Luqsur and Toshka in Aswan, as well as El Galela City. The new cities will house a new administrative capital, distinctive residential plots of land, integrated urban projects and malls, residential projects, integrated urban communities, wholesale market, dry port and a city for craftsmen, social housing units, service projects, seawater, desalination planets, industrial zones and logistic areas. That new administrative capital comes at the top of the 4th generation city with an area of 170,000 fadans. The Ministry of Housing launched the reservation of units through different payment methods. The capital will include an international airport and an electric train to link it with the 10th of Ramadan and Salam cities. Meanwhile, the first phase of the new 6th of October, spanning overran an area of 78,000 fadans and comprises residential projects, integrated urban projects, a wholesale market, a dry port and a city for craftsmen.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Starting off our discussion right away. Now, Mr. Hassouna, the government is actually set to construct 20 new 4th generation cities. We've been talking about having a new administrative capital, the Alamein city, and few big cities, new cities, and that seemed like a big vision, huge sort of project to embark on. But we're talking now about 20 new cities all over the country. How big of a project is that for the Egyptian government and for Egypt?
It's very big, and it's a big risk, and it's a brave step from the government to do this, because building 20 cities, it's like building a new country. Because at first, when the President Abdel Fattah Sisi, when he announced about the new capital, people didn't understand how big it is until he announced that every city he's going to make an extension for it. Just like Ain al-Sukhnai, there is an extension like the Galala city, and of course the extension of 6 October. And we have also Alamein city, and everything they started construction. So it was a vision, everything was planned, it was all about, it's about time. So now we see construction everywhere. So I guess it's a very good step. And for my generation, it's the biggest thing that happened for us to see something as big as building 20 cities in Egypt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's been talking about during the economic reform program, everybody's focusing on the real estate sector, saying it's probably one of the strongest sectors here in Egypt. Having 20 new cities, will that empower this sector even more, or will it be some sort of a burden for this already healthy and strong sector?
I guess it's smart to start building in the sector of real estate, because it is very strong. Actually, I think it's the strongest in the Middle East and Egypt, because it doesn't get affected by anything. Maybe it stops at a certain time, but then it continues. So I think we will see the benefit of it when we start seeing it's a future plan. We're going to see the new capital in the next couple years. And we're going to see a lot of job opportunities, a new lifestyle, a lot of things that we used to face here in Cairo, like the traffic. It's very well planned, very well organized. There's a place for the sports facilities, for the commercial areas, for the business districts, and there is a big space of green spaces, rivers, and I guess it's a level up in real estate.
Yes. Mr. Hassouna, as you've mentioned, having these new cities, it's like building a new country.
Exactly.
Now, this is quite an expensive project.
Yeah.
How is this going to be financed? The financing of building these 20 new cities, is it going to be loans? Is it going to be foreign investors, local investors, national debts? How is it going to be financed?
I guess the main thing is investors, because when you sell a piece of land inside a new city to a developer, so he pays good money for it, so you can continue the construction and also can use the money for other things in our country. So I guess it's mainly the investor, and a lot of people are investing in the new cities. And people started to know about it now, because it's so obvious that it's going to continue. It's not just an idea. And I guess people need more education about it, even on social media campaigns, just to show the people how big it is. So I guess it's mainly the investors.
Would you say the big bulk would be mainly coming from local investors or foreign investors?
I cannot say half and half, but the big percentage is on the local investor. And I guess in the future, because now you build the base for the foreign investor, so he can come and invest in the country.
Well, we've been talking about actually having a lot of infrastructure projects, talking about the roads and the transportation, the sanitation. All these projects related to the infrastructure, do you think that they will be available to serve all these 20 new cities? Because we're not just talking about Cairo or the new administrative capital. We're talking about Upper Egypt, we're talking about Northern Sinai, we're talking about the North Coast. So the infrastructure, is it covering the whole of the country?
Yes. The infrastructure was the first step. And this is the best thing that the government did, is that they worked on the infrastructure, then on the projects. It's not the opposite.
Yes.
So I guess it's going to serve all the 20 cities. And I mean, you can, from now, you can take the road and go to a new city, even if it doesn't fully constructed, but you can see it and you can, so the roads are very, very good. And there is a lot of roads now that is connecting all the east part of Egypt, like the new Cairo and future city and the new capital, and even with the Ain al-Sukhna. So, and a lot of new roads that is connecting 6 October and Sheikh Zayed and the west part, even in the north coast and the Alamein city, you have the Fuka road, you have a lot of roads that is already built to serve these cities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the new capital, the new administrative capital,
Yes.
by its title, it is quite an administrative city. But do you feel that the 20 other cities, are they going to be specialized cities according to their geographical location and to the industries already taking place with, around these new cities? For instance, are there going to be cities specialized in tourism, cities specialized in furniture, specialized in energy? Are we going to see specialized cities?
I guess this is the right thing to do, because this is how it is, and this is how you focus on one thing, and this is when it gets big, you get benefits from it. So I guess this is what's happening now. Like in Ain al-Sukhna, we have now a big part that is for industrial and factories, and there is the Galala city. So it's, you find an educational part, you find an industrial part. So I guess this is the vision. It's not like this exactly. It's like a mix between all the things that you can find inside a city. But yes, like in Alamein city, they focus on tourism, and they focus on bringing more people to this part during the whole year, not only in the summer. So yes.
Yes. Well, Mr. Hassunat, with all these new cities, definitely a lot of construction companies are taking part in these projects. How strong or how direct is the relationship and the cooperation between the government and these construction companies in order to actually have a very satisfactory vision for building these new cities between the companies and the government as well?
I guess the relationship between the investors and the government is very strong, because and there is also direct instructions to the developer to deliver on time, because this is the main thing, because the government is working on something perfectly planned. So you cannot come and work inside the city and there's a delay in delivery or something, because now the instructions from the company of the new capital is that you have to deliver on time, and sometimes if they notice that a certain developer cannot deliver on time, they take the land again. So I guess everything is planned, everything is contracted, and it's working very fine.
Yes. Well, the administrative capital is supposedly going to be done and finished by 2020. That's the initial plan.
Yes, the first phase.
Yes, the first phase. What about the other 20 cities? Is it too optimistic to actually assume that it might be done around the same time, or are they going to take longer time, more than the administrative capital?
They are working on it. You can see that they are working on it. So even if there's a small delay in the delivery, I don't think it's a big problem, but I think everything is going according to the plan right now, because in certain places, like in Alamein, it was announced during this year, and you can find construction there. And
Yes.
you can find a lot of things that is happening there. So I guess everything is going to go perfectly fine.
Yes, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, we're also now joined over the phone by Engineer Abdel Nasser Taha, the representative of the International Real Estate Federation here in Egypt. Engineer Taha, can you hear us, sir?
Yes.
Engineer Taha, first of all, the 20 new cities, 24th generation new cities, how would you expect the government to actually perform on such not just one mega projects, 20 mega projects? Do you feel that it will constitute a certain burden on the Egyptian government, economically at least, or do you feel that we are in this sort of rhythm on the role of embarking on these new cities and a lot of construction?
Thank you first for giving me this opportunity. I want to talk from the private sector point of view that having a very challenging and mega size of development all over Egypt is a big opportunity. At the same time, it's a big challenge. It's never done before to have this expansion in the urban growth of the country, like what we see in this very special situation. The opportunity is that it opens a lot of areas, a lot of access and opportunities to make growth in urban, but also in the economic side, which is totally needed in the stage of the growth of economy. The challenge is that are we able to run so fast? Are we able to build so fast? I think I am pro the idea of growing fast, because if you don't have such plans, we will continue growing slowly compared to the population growth, and the population growth is killing all the urban growth and creating slums. So I'm personally pro having very big plans of urban growth all over Egypt, north, south, west, east. And in my opinion, even if we don't run quickly in filling all these areas now, but it's a very good foundation for us for the near future to create a new urban fabric for all Egypt. In my opinion, there is one point which has to be covered, and we have to be very careful dealing with it, is to create economic base and economic engine in each part we are trying to make the urban growth as well. And this plan is yet not clearly defined. So we need to create in each city and in each community an engine for industry, an engine for economy, for service, for agriculture, depending on the area. This is my humble opinion. I wish we will have this getting ready very soon.
Mm-hmm. And actually having this economic engine actually really strengthening or really starting up new industries and new sectors to act around these new cities, is this the responsibility of the private sector alone, or is this the responsibility of the government alone, or is it a joint collaboration between both?
This is a very good point, because if we don't have a full cooperation and integrity between the effort done by the government and the private sector, we will never be able to build it. Mm-hmm. At the end user and the end developer is the private sector. Mm-hmm. The government is responsible of building the infrastructure and the foundation and rules and regulations for the private sector to grow, not for only working alone. We are lucky to have Dr. Mustafa Madbouli as Minister of Housing. At the same time, now he is the Prime Minister. Mm-hmm. So he's not only responsible now of the urban growth, he is responsible also of the GDP, the general growth of the economy. Mm-hmm. And this link is very healthy from my point of view in this equation. Mm-hmm. So I understand quite well that the government will do all the effort needed to involve the private sector
to benefit from the plan and to reflect this success on the GDP, on the overall growth of the economy in Egypt.
Engineer Taha, as you just said, this is a speedy operation. This is a quick sort of process, the construction of these new cities. But does the private sector as well have its own plan to not just construct these new cities, but also to maintain and see through the whole process and overcome any sort of difficulties that may arise with a quick construction of 20 new cities?
I think the private sector, we cannot say that we are performing 100% in relation with what is planned, and this is normal. Our plans are very promising, and the limit is and the plan is very, very high compared to the growth possibly done by the private sector. In my opinion, we need a lot of foreign investors, but after believing that the private sector, the Egyptian private sector, is in the front line. I think if we start, we'll encourage more the investor to enter into alliances with our Egyptian private sector. I think that a lot of funds in the area, in the region now, are looking to Egypt after getting a lot of confidence in the security first and the stability of the economy second. Now the government over the 4 last years has proven that the growth is real, is not fake. The stability now of the currency is more than 2.5 years. So the situation is optimum, and I see that these indicators, even criticized by some people, but at the end it is the healthiest and the most stable in the whole region of the Middle East and Africa. Our chance now is much higher than before to grab foreign investors to this environment. In my opinion, I'm working in the real estate, but I totally encourage all and wish the government to encourage and facilitate in the industry. The industry has to come first.
Yes. Well, Engineer Taha, talking about attracting foreign investors and in turn foreign construction companies to come and invest in the real estate sector here in Egypt, who do you see is the most attracted foreign investor coming to invest in the real estate? Is it coming from the Arab region, the Gulf? Is it coming from China? Is it coming from Europe? Who's really interested and is willing to invest as soon as possible?
From all over the world, each region or each area, the funds and the investor are looking differently, totally different. If you are talking to the Gulf region, they are looking to using their funds for the highest return on investment in a secure environment, and they want to diversify their portfolios and their projects in Europe, in US, in other countries, and in Egypt. Egypt could be a very good destination for the Arab funds. If we are talking about international funds or Asian funds, like Chinese funds, for example, I think the Chinese funds are linked to the Chinese investor, and mainly their strength is in the industry. So they can invest in industry. They will not come to invest in real estate, in pure and direct residential and direct real estate. They will be more interested into creating industrial zones and bringing their own know-how to extend their business, their industrial capacity in Egypt, and to benefit from all the agreement done between Egypt with COMESA, with Europe, and with other countries, to benefit from exporting to this country tax-free and with exemption. I think the Chinese are looking differently. The Gulf is looking differently. Europeans are looking totally differently in non-residential and commercial and education. So we have to speak their language. For each types of fund, we have to talk and to facilitate for them reaching their objectives in Egypt.
Yes. Engineer Abdel Nasser Taha, the representative of the International Real Estate Association here in Egypt, thank you very much for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, obviously it is a speedy and it is a very fast-paced project embarking on these 20 new cities, and Egypt is already in a race to inaugurate the new administrative capital, the first phase, by the year 2020. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.
The new administrative capital in Egypt is one of the several mega projects launched by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi since he took office in 2014. The government is racing to complete construction of the new administrative capital in record time and wrap up ongoing projects such as the Central Business District, which is being constructed by China State Construction Engineering Corporation. The new metropolis is currently a giant construction zone, but work is progressing at breakneck speed. The new administrative capital company is committed to the project's timeline. Comprising a total of 20 residential neighborhoods worth $15 billion, the project's first phase is estimated at $8 billion and spans over 12,500 fadans, featuring 25,000 residential units and infrastructure projects. The residential areas in the project will include an array of accommodation units, including apartments, villas and townhouses. The project will also be equipped with an international airport and facilities that include education, healthcare and accommodation. The project will also be a home to 20 towers, one of which will be the tallest tower in Africa with a record height of 345 meters. Built under the supervision of the Engineering Authority of the Armed Forces, the new administrative capital's government district comprises 36 buildings, including the cabinet's new headquarters, a building for the House of Representatives and 34 other buildings, one for each ministry. Minister Hela Said said her ministry had agreed to transfer government employees on 2 stages, each consisting of around 57,000 employees.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Mr. Hassouna, you were just telling me that this new administrative capital will actually introduce a lot of a different sort of master plan for the ones that we're already used to, whether if it's in the 5th settlement or towards 6th of October City. In what way is it more developed? In what way is it different than the new cities that we've been used to?
It's totally different. As I was saying, the master plan is already made. When we think about New Cairo, for example, we have a big part of New Cairo, which is the best part there. The roads is not constructed until now. So this is the main problem. But the good thing in the new cities that you did the infrastructure and the roads first. So you will make it easy to access these cities, and the organization itself of the city, which is there is an industrial part, the part of the commercial area, and the part of the residential area. Everything is separated, and I guess it's like exactly when someone thinks that when he lives in Cairo and the traffic, of course it's a very big problem that you have to spend 2 or 3 hours a day to go to your work. So we're going to avoid this. We're going to ease the traffic, and you're going to find everything different. An eco city, more technology. You can find museums, you can find the library, you can find the mosque, the church. Everything is much better than the old city.
Yes. Well, with all these new cities started off with the new administrative capital, we're a population of about a little bit more than 100 million.
Yes,
and these new cities are supposedly helping the overpopulated cities and trying to ease the pressure and spread it all over the country. How is it going to be for the Egyptians to relocate their homes and their lives from one place to another. Is it going to be an easy sort of transition? Are there going to be incentives and facilitations for people to relocate and change their entire lives?
They're going to change it for the better. It's a new lifestyle where they're going to live a better life and avoid some problems that they used to face. So it's just a matter of time. And also the government and all the projects that inside the new cities, you can find all the types, like starting from a studio, so it's going to be affordable for the people to think about it, and also the flexibility of the payment. So I guess it's going to be easy for them.
Yes. Well, one sort of concern for all Egyptians regarding the real estate, everyone's saying, yes, there are new compounds, new cities being constructed, but they're very pricey as well, and not everyone's going to be able to relocate and move to these new cities. With the construction of these new cities, do you feel that the prices of units and apartments and houses, do you think it will drop down, or do you think that it will still be the same, or as we're used to in the real estate sector, it's going to get even higher by the year?
It's going to get higher because if you think about it, we didn't have something that the price of it dropped. It's always, maybe it can stay the same for a period of time, then it gets higher. And by starting next month, everything is going to get higher. The real estate is going to increase the prices. But we have many options. For people, we have classes. It's like you make it like categories, so you can find a very luxurious compound, which is the price is going to be very high. Other things, the government provides a lot of units that is affordable for anyone who is thinking about getting a new home. That is affordable and also with flexibility in the payment.
Yes. So these new cities are not only for the high earners here in Egypt, but also for the low-income bracket citizen, would we say?
Yes, we have both. We have both in the new cities.
Yes. Mr. Hassouna, how is this going to affect, away from the real estate sector, how is this going to affect the Egyptian economy as a whole? Do you think that there will be, it will affect the stock exchange? Will it affect the GDP for Egypt immediately? Is it going to have an immediate sort of effect, or is it going to be a delayed effect?
It's not going to happen immediately, but at least we're going to have stability. We're going to have financial stability because we, like we were talking, the government focused on the main thing that will get profit. So when you get profit, you can spend on industrial projects, you can spend on other things that will help the economy and will help our country. So I guess it will affect the economy in a good way.
Will it have an effect on the prices of shares of construction companies within the bourse?
Yes. Yes. Once you see that the construction companies, everything is going like it's planned, so the stocks are gonna get higher. So
yes. Mr. Hassouna, do you feel that if we're talking about financing these projects, it's going to be through local investors or foreign investors as well? Will it also be financed by loans or financial support coming from international financial institutions and the government as well? So in turn, it will mean that we will have to pay off the expenses of financing these projects?
I don't think when you look at the market now, I guess it's working very fine by the investors who are investing in the new cities. So I think the last option is going to be loans, or the government is going to pay by itself for these projects.
Mr. Hassouna, now with actually building these cities, will the government, will it be crucial to coincide with initiating social and cultural changes within the Egyptian society. We will relocate. The cities, in a way, will be specialized. But do you think that it can have an effect on the social and cultural aspect of the Egyptian society as well?
Of course, because people is going to adapt to the new life. They are going to adapt to it, and I guess just exactly when you go to another country that is more developed, you can find rules and you have to adapt to these rules. And it's exactly what's going to happen in the new cities.
In building these new cities, Egypt is already embarking on a 2030 vision for sustainable development, and we're all going very environmental, very green, very clean in our using our energy resources.
Yes.
Are these new cities also being built to accommodate these new visions, this new healthier lifestyle that should be achieved by the year 2030, or are they being built in the traditional way of construction?
No, it's not built in the traditional way at all, because there's a new character for the new cities in everything.
Yes.
So it's totally different.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're also now joined over the phone by Dr. Engineer Ibrahim Hilali, Professor of Engineering at Ain Shams University. Hello, Doctor. Can you hear us, sir?
Hello.
Dr. Hilal, now embarking on 20 new cities, how is this going to affect the not just the real estate sector, but the whole engineering sector and the construction sector here in Egypt? Is it too big of a project for the real estate sector to embark on here, or is it just the right time for a already strong real estate sector to embark on a new project?
Yeah, actually, you know that the construction sector in Egypt is one of the leading sectors in the economy development, and you know, having this huge number of real estate cities and new cities, as you said, is not only going to impact the residents and having this opportunity for the young generation to have apartments and houses and so, but also in the global vision for that, for the economic development of Egypt. The contracting process, the engineering process, the material, and the purchasing, for this kind of construction. And of course, everybody perhaps, feel there is some booming in this sector at the moment, and a lot of engineering, a lot of labor, a lot of, all kind of jobs are now feeling this kind of, expansion and having better opportunities in life, and the reflection is quite clear now in the job market. It's quite difficult for to find an engineer, because we have so many opportunities are open for this kind of activities now.
Dr. Hilal, now, as you've mentioned, there are so many advantages and there are so many pros to building these new cities. But what sort of difficulties might we face during the construction period and actually establishing and building these new cities, so that we're actually prepared to overcome these obstacles and difficulties? What sort of problems can it arise during this process?
Yeah. Everything actually has some positive and negative sides. For the negative side, or the impact that we feel at the moment, that we have a kind of rush, demand for most of the material and most of the jobs, and this kind of booming is perhaps will be followed, maybe after 1-2 years or so, with a kind of, a relative recession, because, everything that reaches to the peak usually comes down, slowly. So this is the point, this is one of the disadvantages, that all these kinds of activities are running simultaneously now, and this, of course, will cause a kind of big demand at some time, and perhaps will be followed with some kind of as I said slow recession. Also, the time frame that these projects are supposed to be finished within, maybe sometimes make some perhaps less kind of planning and calculation for the cost that may lead to some kind of more expenses per units, and this also one of the negative points that we may see for against the so many positive points that we mentioned before.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Hilal, now, if we're talking about the cost of actually building these new cities, in order to avoid any sort of difficulties, do you think it would be smarter not just to depend mainly on a government budget, but also to really depend or use a lot of the foreign funds coming to Egypt from international financial institutions?
Typically for this kind of jobs and for the real estate and development of the new cities are basically either through the private sector or the governmental fund. Mm-hmm. But talking about the international fund for this kind of development perhaps is not be the good point to go for. And it's better to dedicate this kind of international fund for more strategic projects that may yield kind of revenue and a kind of to return back, because most of these kind of funds are coming as a kind of loans, and for the loans you have to have some projects that have some yield and some revenue that you can reimburse your loan from. So talking about the funds, it's better to go either through the government or the private sector, and this actually the typical procedure that going on at the moment.
Dr. Ibrahim Hilal, Professor of Engineering at Ain Shams University, thank you very much for joining us. Now, Mr. Hassouna, talking about this real estate sector and these new cities, you're saying a lot of construction companies, local investors are taking part in these projects, also trying to attract foreign investors. Is the energy and the atmosphere among the local real estate and construction companies, is it a healthy one? Is it a healthy competition between these real estate sectors to actually be involved in building these 20 new cities, or is this enough work to satisfy all these companies?
Oh, you can every day you can find a new construction company or a new developer, because they know that the developer is also a big investor who wants to put billions into something and get billions in return. So that's why they go for building new projects and get into the competition. So I guess the local investors are doing very well, making good profit, making good projects, and I guess one day the foreign investor is going to participate in the real estate sector in Egypt. I guess it's going to happen very soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, definitely it is a good step forward, not just for the real estate sector, but for the Egyptian economy and the Egyptian citizens of all income brackets, and hopefully such mega projects will be taking place and inaugurated as soon as possible. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank our very distinguished guest, Mr. Mehab Hassouna, the consultant and the member of the Brokers Associations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
it was
you so
a pleasure.
much. It was a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Al International. I'm Hani Saif. Thank you for joining us.